SolidarityRealty.com. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics. Please allow me to introduce myself. Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Radio Show, the Friday edition. Fancy Brian on the boards where he should be. Happy Friday to you, big guy.
How's it going, Crudy?
It's I've got sort of a weird feeling today.
A weird feeling?
Yes, I want to have a broader conversation, and not necessarily to start, but good and evil.
All right.
And we sometimes characterize our opponents on the right as evil. I wonder if you think that's true. You and
there's a good chance that we do characterize them a little bit of evil. Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to make a list and check it twice. Does Santa think they're evil?
If I were Santa, I would submit a pretty comprehensive list.
Well, we've got lots of topics to cover today. And airing of the grievances is a big part of the Friday program. And I got plenty of time for you. The phone lines, they're open right now at 844-967-2789. But before we talk about evil, I want to talk about this new Omicron variant. And the first news I'm hearing about this, I've obviously seen plenty of reporting, but the unprecedented COVID surge hitting children under 5 in South Africa, their medical health professionals did a press conference. Tom Skiles, Royalist correspondent, this I found at the Daily Beast. The highly transmissible Omicron variant of coronavirus ripping through South Africa is putting disproportionately large numbers of children under 5 years old in hospitals, a top South African government medical advisor said today. The alarming development raises the prospect of a new global battle cycle against the virus. Given that the new variant has already spread to dozens of countries, the South African scientist also said the new variant was spreading much quicker than any previous wave of the coronavirus. In a worrying virtual press conference, government advisor, and I have no idea how to pronounce these names, Wasila Jasset, speaking about the worst affected area of the Gauteng province, which includes the city of Johannesburg, said, "It's glaring Gauteng. And the week-on-week increase we're seeing in cases and admissions is higher than we've seen it before. We've seen quite a sharp increase in hospital admissions across all age groups, but particularly in the under 5s. This is very troubling news." She added, the incidence of those under 5 is now second highest, second only to those over 60. The trend that we're seeing now, that is different. This is different, people, this Omicron, to what we've seen before, is a particular increase in hospital admissions in children under 5. We've always seen children not being fully, let me try that again. We've always seen children not being very heavily affected by the COVID epidemic in the past. That's the past. Not having many admissions. In the third wave, we saw more admissions in young children under 5 and teenagers 15 to 19. And now, at the start of this fourth wave, we have seen a quite sharp increase across all age groups, but particularly in the under 5s. Jasset produced graphs that clearly showed how children under 5 are now being hospitalized at an alarming rate. She said, for example, in the city of, forgive me, South Africa, Toshwane Metro, more than 100 children under 5 were admitted to hospitals in the first 2 weeks of the fourth wave. That is November 14th to November 17th. 2 weeks, they had 100 admissions in one metro, children under 5. In the first 2 weeks of the country's third wave in May of this year, fewer than 20 children were admitted to hospitals. That's about 5 times as much, according to my math. In a follow-up question and answer session asked about the extraordinary number of children being admitted to the hospital, Jossett said she suspected there might be an immunity gap and that the lack of vaccination of children might account for the numbers. She said that adults increasingly vaccinated, children are the ones who are getting sick and need to be admitted. She added that the pediatricians at the Tosh-Wayne Hospital had told them that all of the children ages 12 to 18 who were admitted were not vaccinated, even though they were eligible. And children younger than 12 who were not eligible for vaccination, none of their parents, except for 3, were vaccinated. So it seems like they're pointing us towards at least a casual correlation between the vaccinated and the children. I mean, even if the parents aren't vaccinated, there is a higher propensity for the children to end up hospitalized. She said this showed the value of vaccination in the adult protecting the children in the homes. Just over 42% of all adults have received at least one vaccination in South Africa, according to their health minister. Another specialist, epidemiologist Michelle Groom, said the virtual meeting that daily hospital admissions in the worst affected part of Gauteng province, have rocketed from 19 to 78. Groom sounded the alarm over the rapidly increasing 7-day average of cases. And this is pretty freaking rapid, which has gone from 332 on December 1st. What's today's date? The 3rd? To 4,814 today. That's like 2 days. It's grown, 1,000% in 2 days? More than that. She said, if we look at the slope of this increase, you can see that we really are seeing an unprecedented increase in the number of new cases in a very short period of time, really just climbing right up. She said the virus reproductive number, a measure of how many people each infected person infects, has climbed to 2.33 in the Gauteng, the affected province. Groom said, this is the highest we've ever seen it since the start of the pandemic. Fala said daily cases have skyrocketed by 9,000 cases per day, climbing from 2,500 last Thursday to 11,535 today. This variant is indeed highly transmissible, including in people who have already been vaccinated, he said. This remark echoed the findings of the paper, of a paper published Friday, not yet peer-reviewed, which the Washington Post reported, claiming Omicron is 3 times more likely to cause reinfection than previous variants. Reinfection than previous variants. Meaning that natural immunity we hear the Republicans talking about all the time. Well, I got it once. Well, guess what? You're going to get it again, at least according to this not yet peer-reviewed study. The Post said statistical analysis of some 2.8 million positive coronavirus samples in South Africa, 36,000 of which were suspected to be reinfections, led researchers to conclude the Omicron mutation has a substantial ability to evade immunity from prior infection. Did you hear that? Conservatives, anti-vaxxers, that natural immunity that you think somehow is the blood of Christ that's going to save you, it ain't. It is not. Fala attempted to sound an optimistic note by saying that he believes the new variant is more transmissible but less severe than previous variants. He said that while vaccinated people are getting infected, a disproportionate number of those ending up in hospitals, well, here's a shocker, they're not vaccinated. And that the South African hospital system is coping for the time being and has spare capacity. Well, these trajectories, that's for days, maybe. However, his remarks are likely to be treated with caution as hospitalizations tend to lag infections by several weeks. And the press conference left little doubt that the country is being pummeled by the Omicron variant. He said the country's COVID test positivity rate, the positivity rate has soared to 22% from below 2% 2 weeks ago. So Omicron for Christmas, folks. And if we don't think it's here, it's here. It's already in the United States. 6 new cases in Nebraska, apparently a cluster around a family. Someone had traveled to, Ghana, some part of Africa. And we know it's in Minnesota. We know it's in California. It's everywhere. It's probably already been here. It's probably already spreading rapidly. But the new news, and I had heard the first encouraging news I had heard out of South Africa is perhaps it's a milder strain. And the transmissibility of this strain, God forbid it be more virulent, but apparently it might be a little less deadly than the prior Delta version, or at least that's the hope. That was the initial reports out from the physician that had initially started reporting this. These were different symptom patterns than the Delta variant. So let's be hopeful. But if you're not vaccinated, really, I understand children 5 and under, there is no option for the children. But if you have children that are in that age group and you are the parents or grandparents of those children and you're not vaccinated, really, it's not like it used to be. It's not like the little kids don't get it or transmit it any longer. This new Omicron variant, they can't get the vaccine. That means you've got to get the vaccine. Or tell your friends or your nieces and nephews' parents, whoever it is that is being resistant, saying, "Oh, I already got COVID, so I don't have to worry about it." And so what? I got 3 kids under 5, they're healthy. So what? They bring home every cold and every flu and everything. I've never been so sick in my life than when my kids were 5 and under.
And if you're worried, if you're fine, like, oh, I got the vaccine. My daughter's got the vaccine. She just got her second booster yesterday.
Good.
Yeah. But if you want to say, oh, I'm fine and everything, well, guess what? These people are clogging the hospitals. 3 stroke victims were turned away at a hospital in Green Bay and sent 100 miles away in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin is jammed already, and that's just with Delta. Omicron. First word out of South Africa. This is really bad. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. It's Friday. We air grievances. Yours could be first. Next, 844-967-2789.
Oh, get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Open up your hate and then
I'm proud to tell you that was actually my sick idea.
come on, get down.
I love this song. I love nachos.
Loving everything? You might be buzzed.
You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzz warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
Social media? You've kept up with the times. If you can do that, you can definitely save for retirement. Go to aceyourretirement.org and in just 3 minutes, you'll get free tips to help boost your retirement savings. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Spruce up your home with non-toxic vegan candles from Wisco Home Goods. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our candles are 100% sustainable and come in a variety of unique blends and scents that make a perfect holiday gift. Plus, at Wisco Home Goods, we believe in giving back. With our Do Good, Smell Good campaign, a portion of the proceeds go to local charities. So support a Midwestern company that supports our local communities. Order now at wiscohomegoods.com.
If you're sick, if you're sick, if you're sick, if you're sick of it, if you're sick.
You're listening to the radio show your mother warned you about, The Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition. Found a story at the Daily Beast reporting out of South Africa, the new Aurora. Damn it. Say it for me, Brian.
Omicron or Omicron?
Omicron. I've been saying Omicron.
I like Unicron.
The Omicron variant apparently is infecting young children. And prior, let's call it, what do they call it? Something immunity, personal. Basically, you get it before, and then you're immune to it, right?
Yeah. Acquired immunity.
Herd immunity.
Herd immunity.
Herd mentality.
Herd mentality. There we go. That's
Acquired immunity apparently is not the protection from this newest variant. At least that's what the numbers seem to indicate coming out of South Africa. The only optimistic note is perhaps it's less virulent. It may kill less people, but actually hospitalizations, trailing indicator, and whether or not you're going to die from it if you are infected by it, also a trailing indicator. So at this point, I would say we have a much clearer sense of the transmissibility, and we have a much clearer sense that young kids apparently are being affected, much more so than Delta or the prior variants. 844-967-2789. It's Friday. We air grievances. Jill from Minneapolis. Jill, you listening on AM 950?
Hi, are you trying to talk to me? I'm Julie.
Oh, I'm sorry, Julie. Well, welcome.
I misheard you, Julie. I apologize.
Thanks for taking my call. I would just say in a very quiet, ladylike voice, I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take this anymore. But let me tell you what's really frustrating about getting older or being younger and having a disability and not being able to write a huge check like the billionaires do who buy off the justices. You feel really helpless. But what's really irking me today is, what's really infuriating me is I don't think the pro-choice protesters are tough enough to stand up to the right-wing wackos. You might know what happened outside the Supreme Court. The right-wing wackos grabbed a megaphone. It was deafeningly loud. They ran up on the stage where the pro-choice people were, and it was mayhem. This is what should happen. And I know what people are going to say, well, that's not fair. It's not fair. Let me tell you what should happen. People need to show up at these justices' houses and protest, because getting to them personally is going to be the only thing that's going to affect them. I'll give you a quick example. This has worked in Minnesota. We have a case now where a cop has killed a young driver, and she is she's going to be on trial. And she meant to grab her taser, she said, and instead she grabbed her gun and she shot the kid, okay? Well, the judge wouldn't let cameras in the courtroom. And within 48 hours of people showing up at her door, she changed her mind. And then she said, well, that's not the reason I changed my mind, is that people were at my house. But you know what? I've seen this work. I think it's the only thing that could possibly work. And if you guys have got some better ideas, lay it on me. Thank you.
Julie, I'm sorry. I don't like the idea. I don't like the idea. I don't like it when the right does it. I don't like it when it's suggested that the left docks somebody, that someone's personal information be put out there, because what happens is there's always a fringe. And I mean, there's a fringe on the left as well. There are people that are willing to take it a lot farther than societal norms say, or we think, respect for others tell us we should. So it's one thing to pressure someone. I get some phone calls here at work. Let's just say that. A few emails, a couple of mean texts. You know what I'm saying? That's all fine. That's all good. I put myself out here as a public figure. But I tell you what, you come to my house, it's going to be a whole different story. And I've seen this done to the former governor of the state of Wisconsin, who I have zero affection for, Scott Walker. Scott Walker, they went and marched on his house in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, a suburb of Milwaukee. And Scott Walker played the martyr card. Oh, did he play the martyr card? It didn't really advance the cause. It didn't change the man's opinion, certainly, but it gave him one more thing to blame the unhinged left about. So I'm sorry, Julie. I disagree that's the right solution. And here in our society, I'm wondering, I want to have a conversation about good and evil sort of broadly today. And sometimes we characterize the right as evil. Well, there are perhaps a few individuals out there. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Stephen Miller. Perhaps Donald Trump. I mean, the man lacks completely an empathy for other humanity, doesn't give a damn. Had a hell of a lot of people dying on Donald Trump's watch because he didn't care. He didn't care. He didn't care if they died. It wasn't politically expedient for him. He was running for re-election. Well, I guess on some level, I start drawing a line. I call that evil. I see that as evil behavior. But there are things that I'm not saying both sides do it, but let's not become the other side also doing it. That would be, I guess, a point I would also make. I don't think we go to people's homes and put their families in jeopardy. I don't think that is the tactic that we want to take. We, the left, speaking broadly for you and I, my sisters on the left, brothers and sisters, let's not be those people. Let's not be the evil bastards. There are plenty of evil bastards in this world. And I'm not sure if I would characterize most Republicans I know, I really wouldn't cast in that lot. And I would say broadly, I don't think most people, when you take them out of their politics, when I see them at the basketball game or my kid's football game, I know some of those guys are Republican. I've had conversations. They give me the smirk. I know they're Republicans, but they're not evil. They're not bad human beings. Mostly small-minded, lacking in, intellectual inquisitiveness.
Intentionally obstinate.
Absolutely. But that's different than evil. But there are some evil bastards out there. We'll identify them. But I'm not going to put their house address online. Well, okay. Donald Trump used to live at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I heard he moved down to Mar-a-Lago. Do what you will with that information. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. It's a Friday. We air grievances. Yours could be next. 844-967-2789.
People that are evil.
Because you're bastard people.
It could be. It might be. It is. Devil Radio 92.7.
We face real challenges. My name is Peter Pekarsky, and I approve this ad stating that I'm running for the U.S. Senate to replace Ron Johnson because some people see things as they are and ask why. Others dream things that could be and ask why not. Why not provide health care as a basic right? Why not have broadband all over Wisconsin? Why not end systemic racism? Why not send a real progressive to the Senate? Visit PekarskyForWisconsin.com and support this ad paid for by Pekarsky for Wisconsin.
At Knuckleheads, our knowledgeable staff knows the ins and outs of CBD. Whether you're a veteran of cannabis like the Devil Radio team or a first-time customer, the Knuckleheads team has the information to answer all your CBD questions. Never heard of a tincture? We got you covered. Looking for something to address those achy joints? We got just the thing. Stop into our new location at 520 State Street and mention Double Radio to our knowledgeable staff to get 15% off your order today. Knuckleheads, your one-stop shop for CBD in Madison.
Egregious. I'm Ben Thomas with an AP News Minute. The parents of the teen accused of killing 4 students at a Michigan high school this week have been charged with involuntary manslaughter. Prosecutor Karen McDonald says Jennifer and James Crumbly committed egregious acts, including buying the gun for their son. She says they were summoned to the school hours before the shooting after a teacher found a drawing of a gun and the words "blood everywhere" on the boy's desk.
James and Jennifer Crumbly were shown the drawing and were advised that they were required to get their son into counseling within 48 hours. Both James and Jennifer Crumbly failed to ask their son if he had his gun with him or where his gun was located, and failed to inspect his backpack for the presence of the gun, which he had with him.
That sound from WXYZ. America's unemployment rate tumbled last month to its lowest point since the pandemic struck, 4.2%. At the same time, employers appeared to slow hiring. The government reports they added just 210,000 jobs. I'm Ben Tallman.
Are you wasting money on a timeshare you rarely use? Cancel it with Titan Exit Group. Get a free consultation and see how they can stop the never-ending maintenance fees and mortgage payments. In fact, if your timeshare contract is not terminated, you owe nothing, so you have nothing to lose. But those monthly fees. Get legally released from your timeshare, 100% guaranteed. Call now for your free consultation at 800-200-0894. 800-200-0894.
Dell Technologies' biggest business sale of the year has arrived. Step up your vision with top tech up to 50% off during their Cyber Monday event. Dell Technologies recommends Windows 11 Pro for business. Plus, get incredible savings on Windows 11 PCs, along with servers, monitors, and docks, all with free shipping. There's also special financing with Dell Business Credit. Get started by contacting your Dell Technologies advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. This week, former Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman began threatening the mayors of Madison and Green Bay with jail time if the officials do not meet with him as a part of the Republican-authorized probe into Wisconsin's 2020 election. Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway has stated she is willing to testify publicly on how the city of Madison conducted the election in the midst of a pandemic, but reiterated that Gableman's subpoena can only compel testimony before a legislative committee, not a private meeting. During a Milwaukee County Board Judiciary Safety and General Services Committee hearing yesterday, Milwaukee District Attorney John Chisholm said an early career prosecutor with a full caseload made the recommendation to set Darrell Brooks Jr.'s bail at $1,000. The assistant district attorney doubled the previous bail of $500 set by a judge. The ADA did not have access to the risk assessment of Brooks Jr. when making that recommendation. You're listening to Devil Radio.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition. It's me, it's Fancy Brian, and you on the phones, airing your grievances Friday style at 844-967-2789. Fancy Brian, I don't want to characterize all Republicans as evil.
I know several of them.
Certainly some evil Republicans. And I asked you, and now I'm asking you publicly, I'm putting you on the spot, big guy.
Oh my goodness.
Who would you characterize as evil?
Okay, so,
and I don't mean Dr. Evil.
I got to give you a little background here. I'm an actor, right? So part of my job is sometimes I play bad people. I played a henchman several times. You can see me spitting on someone in 2 different movies at least.
Like the second day you worked for this fine radio product, greatest radio show ever. You were on a Chicago cop show.
It was the one with a bunch of technology and stuff.
Like a CSI or
something like that, but it only ran one season.
But you threw a guy out.
I threw a guy out of a club.
And you spit on him.
Yeah.
Was he evil?
No, but he did actually die. That was John Hurd's last professional gig.
You killed John Hurd?
Yeah, personally. No, actually, he was a really awesome guy. Really got along with us on set. Awesome, great guy. But my point is that playing a bad guy, or technically a bad guy in the realm of the plot, right?
Yeah.
You have to advocate for your character. You can't just go in and say, I'm a bad guy, because nobody actually thinks that they're a bad guy. Nobody actually thinks, very few people actually think that they're doing something wrong when they're doing it. You're speeding, right? You know you're not supposed to be
often,
speeding. Yeah,
occasionally.
Almost everybody does. Except for people who drive in the left lane in Wisconsin for some reason. But anyway.
And then they'll go the speed limit. Exactly the same speed as the guy next to him in the right lane.
Self-righteous. Anyway.
Those are the evil people?
Yes, actually, because they know what they're doing. The point is that
when my wife does it, she doesn't seemingly know that she's doing it.
Yeah, and none of them do. But that's the thing, is that they're not trying to be evil. They just are doing it but they think they're doing the right thing, right?
So if
But
I don't perceive myself to be evil, then I'm less evil,
I guess
less diabolical somehow.
No, that doesn't necessarily mean it. It's all in context. My point is, it's hard to go and say that person is evil. That person is wrong. Like when you get pulled over, you know you shouldn't be speeding. And when the cop comes up and says you shouldn't be speeding, you will come up with every single excuse as to why you were speeding, rather than saying, my bad, I shouldn't have done that.
See, I've skipped out of a lot of tickets, at least speeding tickets.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was going a little too fast. Sorry, officer.
Of course.
That's how I leave.
Yeah.
Here's my license. Here's my registration, proof of insurance, and here's a Ben Franklin for you. No, I would never.
But keep in mind, remember, people also characterize that cop as an evil person who just wanted to come and ruin your day to go and give you a ticket. No, that cop's doing their job, and they give you a little bit less flack because you were compliant and you were nice and you were a pleasant experience. Normally they get
anyone that meets me would tell you the same.
Of course, every single time. I guess my point is that characterizing someone as evil is a really hard, and for me is a very like even Donald Trump, as much of the evil, stupid crap as he does,
we met Trump.
My impression of him is that he's just all about self-preservation, and that's where his motivation comes from, not necessarily I'm trying to be evil. Very few people go and say, good, excellent.
Yeah, I don't think he's Lex Luthor per se. Certainly not an evil genius.
Could you imagine, though?
Well, if Trump was Lex Luthor.
Well, they had any competence whatsoever?
When we met Trump, and Dominic shook his hand, or as Tom would tell you, Trump shook his hand. But we met Trump, and he had the opportunity to question Trump. And at that time, that was 2015, January of 2015, very early in the presidential campaign. And if anybody was evil at the Iowa, I think they called it the Freedom Summit. It was being held by Citizens United. Well, I saw Newt Gingrich. He struck me as a little
that's an evil guy. That's an evil sociopathic, psychopathic human being.
Perhaps the one that was more scary to me than Newt was Callista, the wife. I think she's like somehow attached to the Vatican now, an ambassador or something. She had dead eyes. Callista. I didn't care for her either. But Trump didn't come off as evil. Scott Walker came off as thinking he was a little bit too much of a big shot. Didn't do the spin room in Des Moines that day, but Donald Trump did. It was literally, the spin room was not much bigger than this radio studio. I mean, anyone that wanted to ask Trump a question was packed in the room with him. Had a pandemic bit of problem. Trump might have worn a mask. That room was that small. But no, he didn't come off as evil or diabolical. But I think when you see that Donald Trump just doesn't have any regard for humans, other humans, he is completely self-involved and way beyond, like a teenager. My teenager is a skosh self-involved. Donald Trump a little beyond that point. But you know what? I'm not sure that he is evil. ? But I think I know who is. I'm pretty clear.
Lay it on me, man. I want to know.
Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida.
I
think he is evil.
I don't know him well enough to do so. I'd like you to paint this picture for me.
Ron DeSantis, you hear his newest proposal today, and I've got a little reporting on this from thehill.com. DeSantis proposes civilian Florida State Guard military force he would control. Yeah,
what?
This sounds like a despot in the making.
So the National Guard is not enough?
It's not enough because they're the federales. They're somehow attached to our national military, meaning Joe Biden would technically be the commander in chief. But this new private army that Governor Ron DeSantis wants, well, that would be at his sole discretion and control. What could possibly go wrong than the evil governor of Florida having his own private army? Here's a little of the reporting at the Hill. I think he's evil. You tell me your opinions at 844-967-2789. But this guy probably worries me more than Trump. If he could galvanize this support, if he's not too big a weenie, if Donald Trump doesn't destroy his electoral chances, because Donald Trump helped make Ron DeSantis, but the Padawan has grown perhaps as powerful as the master. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Republican, evil, on Thursday proposed reestablishing a World War II era civilian military force that he would control. DeSantis pitched the idea of creating the Florida State Guard, which would be independent of federal control, while speaking about his military budget proposal. The Guard would consist of 200 volunteers, civilians trained in the best emergency response techniques. I wonder if Kyle Rittenhouse would be available. That would aid in the event of natural disasters or other state emergencies. What, as described by Ron DeSantis' evil ass? The Florida State Guard was initially created in 1941 to fill in for the National Guard members deployed during World War II. It was disbanded in 1947. DeSantis said the proposed unit would not be encumbered by the federal government. Did you catch that? Not encumbered by the federal government.
Would they be encumbered by, let's say, the Geneva Convention?
Well, you hate to encumber a guy. We're a military force, a private militia, if you will.
Luckily, this didn't happen in Michigan, where there's already a standing bunch of militias.
DeSantis said the proposed unit would not be encumbered by the federal government, adding that the force would give him the flexibility and ability needed to respond to events in our state in the most effective way possible. Like a Black Lives Matter protest, perhaps.
But this reminds me of when, the ambassador from Naboo took over the Galactic Empire and created the Galactic Empire after he was granted emergency powers.
Are you talking Star Wars nerd?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
I love it when real life runs along sci-fi lines. It's pretty awesome, isn't it?
If established, Florida would become the 23rd active state guard in the country. I didn't know there was such a thing. The idea was part of DeSantis's larger military budget proposal, which, included establishing 3 new armories, a new National Guard headquarters, and supporting service members getting degrees. Florida Democrats pushed back on the proposal. Charlie Crist, who apparently is now a Democrat, let's not forget he was the former Republican governor of the state of Florida, called the proposed unit a hand-picked secret police.
That doesn't sound bad at all.
As Charlie Crist technically tweeted, no governor should have his own hand-picked secret police. DeSantis' proposal comes after Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin urged National Guard members to get vaccinated or face losing their pay. Is this just so you can have an army of the unvaccinated? I mean, is he looking for a zombie army next? I'm just curious. 844-967-2789. Your Friday grievances. But I personally think Ron DeSantis I think he's evil. I think he is. I think he is a small, petty man. And they worry me more. I mean, Donald Trump had an enormous ego. And Donald Trump obviously knew he was inadequate his entire life. His daddy never loved him enough. His mommy never hugged him. Something broke down in that man's, growth pattern. But Ron DeSantis, I think, is a petty little man that suddenly has a little bit of power. And he has these broad ambitions. And Scott Walker had broad ambitions, but not much intelligence. But DeSantis is a Yale educated, a very erudite man by all accounts. And he's got the little missus. She's the general right at his side. And they're like a cabinet of 2. And I think he might be the most dangerous future presidential candidate in our nation. Because I would worry about a Ron DeSantis America.
Yeah, he's a little bit more capable. And I'm still hung up on, the college classes, join shoot your neighbors, learn about science. Hooray. This group is offering education to people.
Well, that is a broader proposition of the Florida National Guard. That's more like the GI Bill. That's the federal associated. You're talking, you're misconstruing. He wants.
Oh, I'm sorry.
A private, militia volunteer
where there's no education.
Well, there's just no oversight from the federal government.
Oh, good stuff.
His army. What could possibly go wrong? 844-967-2789. Jim from St. Louis Park. Jim, welcome. What do you got for us?
I wanted to follow up on, what you say to a police officer when they pull you over or whatever.
Yeah, what do you tell them, Jim?
Well, I was going to say, if you see, this female officer and she looks really sharp in her uniform, do not ask her what you need to do to have her wrestle you to the ground and handcuff you.
Have you tried that line, Jim?
No, I'm too chicken to
I was
do
going to say that wouldn't advance your sex life or your longevity on the streets.
But I was thinking Mitch McConnell and Ted Cruz. I just see both of them as being evil. Just no merit there. With, I think one thing that would be really good for all of us to do, everybody listening, if you want Ron Johnson to get out of there, give money to your governor, to Ayers. We've given money to him because the campaign funds that will support him will probably be the same campaign funds that will support whoever the Democratic nominee is for Senate in Wisconsin. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do in a way, Jim. I appreciate your consideration of our gubernatorial and U.S. Senate races. Ron Johnson on the ballot, as is Democratic Governor Tony Evers in the state of Wisconsin. And Jim listening, I appreciate you listening, AM 950 in Minneapolis. Jim is suggesting, if you want to help support the eventual Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate, perhaps consider supporting the governor of the state of Wisconsin. Now, I would say, there's 10 or more, Fancy Brian, and we've got some new polling out of the state of Wisconsin on the U.S. Senate race. And I would say that, I might have a different advocacy than you, Jim. How about you support the platform? And whoever wins the nomination will be here to lift them to victory over Ron Johnson. Just a thought. Come back with us. More of your Friday grievances. Your thoughts are next. 844-967-2789.
Evil will always triumph because good is dumb.
I have one simple request, and that is to have sharks with frickin' laser beams attached to their heads.
Evil losers.
What grows in the forest? Our imagination and our family bonds. The forest is closer than you think. Find a forest near you at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Hi, Don from Wisco Home Goods here. Jeremy and I handcraft our 100% non-toxic candles from locally sourced materials in our Madison, Wisconsin facility. Wisco Home Goods candles come in a variety of unique blends and scents that you're sure to love. Add a little warmth to your home as the days get colder with one of our Midnight Cypress or Up North candles. Order at wiscohomegoods.com. Natural, healthy, nourishing candles and more at wiscohomegoods.com.
Did I get it?
Should I wait?
Is it safe? It's okay to have questions about COVID-19 vaccines. Now get the facts. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when COVID-19 vaccines are available to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
I'm not down for voter suppression in my
No,
state.
right. This. It's got to be easy. It was great to have these options. We should have these options. We should have days off for people to go vote. We should expand the availability, the ease of our own citizens in this country to participate in self-governance. Republicans, why are you so opposed to that?
Because they lose those elections.
Listen to Devil's Advocates weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
The Devil's Advocates. Sausage making never looked so good.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. The Friday edition nearly made it to the weekend. We'll get you all the way home safe. I promise. Just join us, 844-967-2789. We air the Friday grievances. But Fancy Brian, I got to ask you, I did not like the gentleman from St. Louis Park's suggestion that I should somehow proposition a cop roadside. That just seems like a really bad idea to me.
Yeah, my friend who is a female cop as well would probably kill you with just the look she would give you.
Yes, I suspect.
Yeah.
Now, I got pulled over like 13 times before I got my first ticket. I had watched David Letterman episode, and he had a state trooper on, and he said, well, how do you avoid a ticket? And he basically said, you always have your hands on the wheel. You always pull way off the side of the road. You put the car, you turn the car off, turn the music down, and be there respectfully with your hands on the wheel and your license and registration. And, acknowledging some modicum of, do you know how fast you're going? Oh, guess I was going pretty fast. She pulled me over, I mean, I'd like to think my disarming sense of humor has helped me on many occasions. But I never did get a ticket, not for the longest time. And I mean, when I was in college, Fancy Brian, I used to buy these $200 cars. And I don't care what year it is, $200 is not a lot of money to pay for a vehicle. But with that sort of a massive investment relative to my earnings, that could be a whole week, 2 weeks' wage. But I didn't want to get that car registered until I made sure she was a runner for a bit, that she was going to make it to work 10, 15 times. So I'd never get them registered right away. I was one of those notorious LAF guys. And I finally, played it out one too many times and got pulled over for an LAF. And I don't think I got a ticket, more like a go get your actual license. But driving without a registered car, I think was my first ticket. I've only gotten 2 speeding tickets in my life. And I've crashed my cars twice in my life, and in both cases I was given tickets. I guess if you end up with a wrecked car, you did something wrong.
I got my car wrecked while I was parked on the Brady Street studios. Some dude sideswiped me.
Really? I don't recall that day.
Yeah, dude sideswiped me. They found him. 2 people got a license plate. Pretty awesome.
You know what I would say though, Fancy Brian? I've always kind of felt like I benefited by looking like a white stepdad.
Did you try to look like a white stepdad?
No, God just made me this way. And, little pouchy middle-agedness going on.
That's why you're doing it.
Well, I've always told my wife, if, I got in shape and I was too good looking, I'd be irresistible.
You'd be a target. You would be a target.
So, I keep myself in dad bod shape. And
that's what's keeping me from it too.
I was at a Dave Matthews concert. Guy was smoking a joint right next to me. I'm like, hey buddy, little something for the effort here. And the guy looked over at me like I was, like a narc or something. I'm like, hey man, don't let the dad bod fool you. So we had a good time. We made new friends. But my only point is, when you look like a white stepdad, and I haven't had a junker of hoopty in years and years and years. I have the benefit of newer cars, although mine is pretty conspicuous. I am driving the devil wagon around town, and I've driven it through multiple states. I've yet to be pulled. Well, I guess I have been pulled over in the devil wagon.
I got pulled over today.
Oh, what'd you do?
Nothing.
How'd you get away?
I still have temporary.
Did you have to kill a man?
No, only 3. That was this time. Barehanded though. Anyway, point is, this guy pulled me over. I have temporary plates still because I just bought that car.
LAF.
Yeah. So it was up in the.
But you have dealer plates.
Yeah, I have dealer plates up in the corner. He just couldn't see them because they put it a little tinted or whatever. Point is
over tinted glass.
When he pulled up,
I get pulled out and slapped on the back of the car.
No, I had my
spread them.
I had my license ready and I had my registration there already. Which with my new license plate number, so he could at least track me and all that stuff.
But you're an enormous dude. Like if I saw you in the driver's seat, I might be, like thumbing my gun.
He was a smaller state trooper. He
diminutive.
Diminutive. He did not have to bend over to my sedan as much. The point is that he apologized. He's like, sorry, man, I couldn't see your plate. I see that you have it right now. I just want to run your stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. No problem. And we were very cordial and everything. But my point is that the first incident wasn't, do you know why I pulled you over or anything? He's like, sorry, I couldn't see your plate. I tried to look, but I couldn't see it. So
I don't think the cops ever apologize.
He's like, yeah, sorry, man. I'm like, awesome. And I totally was respectful and, helped out. And we moved along our way. But my point is that he said sorry.
Circle the calendar. I have never had a cop tell me sorry, except when he like crams your head into the side of the cop car. Oh, Did that hurt? Sorry. Wright County Sheriff Sean Derringer this week delivered a blistering denunciation of the Minneapolis Police Department after newly unearthed body cam footage showed its officers talking about hunting, and that is the word they used, anti-police brutality demonstrators who took to the streets in the wake of the murder of George Floyd last year. During a public meeting for the Minnesota Board of Peace Officer Standards and Training this week, Derringer addressed the latest scandal plaguing the Minneapolis PD, which he said lacks leadership and accountability from top to bottom. I'm telling you, folks, that I am absolutely disgusted watching that, Derringer said, according to local news station KSTP. And I've defended that agency for the very last time. The sheriff went on to lament the actions of the Minneapolis police were damaging the reputations of officers across the state. I am so upset with the lack of leadership. We are all cast in the same barrel of crap coming out of Minneapolis proper. Ooh, that's harsh. Rolling Stone reported that the footage was so damning that the Minneapolis police called it antithetical to the kind of culture it wanted to build. Here a quote. The footage of Minneapolis cops allegedly hunting protesters showed cops being directed to target protesters and F them up, writes Rolling Stone. The video captured cops high-fiving after shooting nonviolent protesters with less lethal impact rounds. Other cops used the same weapons in a manner that resembled a drive-by shooting, firing on people on the street seemingly unannounced from an unmarked van. We remember when we had the guy from Minneapolis call us up and said, this happened? It happened. We've now apparently seen the police video thereof, and this Sheriff Derringer, disgusted with the Minneapolis Police Department, Wright County Sheriff Sean Derringer. Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates moving towards hour number 2. It's a Friday. We air grievances. I do not want to get taken out of my car tonight. I mean, any cop listening right now knows, hey, guys driving a devil wagon. I'm going to beat Crudy's ass. Let's hope not. I'll be respectful. I don't think you're evil. And some of you certainly act evil. And I wonder why. Whether it's the GOP or the cops or the left or any other person, you know, evil is evil. Bad is bad. Didn't your mama raise you better than that? Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. 844-967-2789. Your Friday grievances aired here.
Go, 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 Johnny, go. Go. Johnny.
The most important decision you can make right now is where do you stand? Goodness or badness?
Oh, he's good.
Good and terrible. Because I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
Hey, I'm here from Knuckleheads. Have you seen our new location yet? Come on down to 520 State Street for all your CBD needs. We have a huge selection of gummies, oils, and a variety of other CBD products. We also have a gigantic walk-in humidor. The knowledgeable staff at Knuckleheads will work with you to find exactly what you need. Mention Devil Radio at checkout to get 15% off your next order. Knuckleheads, now at 520 State Street. We'll see you there.
Wisconsin. You know that Drew Holiday and Brooke Lopez are champions on the court, but did you know they're also champions for our community?
Hey, Wisconsinites, Drew Holiday here.
And Brooke Lopez here.
I love being a champion.
And today I'm asking you to be a champion citizen.
Defend your right to vote and exercise your freedom to vote.
It's more important now than ever because politicians are trying to restrict our freedom to vote.
They're worried about our power, so they want to take it away.
Don't let them do that.
You've got to block that shot.
Paid for by the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Devil Radio app.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. More charges in Michigan today after Tuesday's school shooting that killed 4 students. Involuntary manslaughter against the alleged shooter's parents. Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDonald says Jennifer and James Crumbly bought the gun their son used, and the day of the attack had been summoned to the school.
They did not indicate to school officials or to their son and inquire about the whereabouts of the gun or the existence of the gun.
That sound from WXYZ. The Oakland County Sheriff says a search is on for the couple after their attorney said he hasn't been able to reach them. The government's November jobs report shows unemployment dropping to a pandemic low of 4.2%, but it disappointed with just 210,000 jobs added. AP correspondent Chris Rugaber reports few gains in the restaurant, bar, and hotel sector.
The job gains there went down to just 23,000. It was 170,000 in the month before. Now that could be the rise of Delta cases. It could be the end of outdoor dining, things like that. And that could fall further if Omicron does become a threat and people pull back on travel.
President Biden says his administration is working to convince Russia not to invade Ukraine as tensions grow between the West and Vladimir Putin. AP Washington correspondent Sagar Magani.
Russian troops are massed near the Ukrainian border, and Kyiv's defense chief warns they could invade next month. President Biden says he's putting together a comprehensive set of initiatives
to make it very, very difficult for Mr. Putin to go ahead and do what people are worried he may do.
Russia wants a guarantee Ukraine will not be allowed to join NATO. A Putin advisor says the two leaders will talk soon, though Biden spokeswoman Jen Psaki only says a call is possible.
It certainly would be an opportunity to discuss our serious concerns about the bellicose rhetoric.
Sagar Magani, Washington.
Are you wasting money on a timeshare you rarely use? Cancel it with Titan Exit Group. Get a free consultation and see how they can stop the never-ending maintenance fees and mortgage payments. In fact, if your timeshare contract is not terminated, you owe nothing, so you have nothing to lose. But those monthly fees, get legally released from your timeshare, 100% guaranteed. Call now for your free consultation at 800-200-0894. 800-200-0894.
Dell Technologies' biggest business sale of the year has arrived. Step up your vision